Before I start today's video, I want to give a shout out to Citrus Aviation. I just want to say you really inspired me to do a lot of model airport videos. I just want to say thank you so much. Anyway, let's get into the video. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here at Magnus & Koa. Today we're doing episode 3 of the 50 US States Airport series, and episode 3 is Georgia, and we are doing the legendary most busiest airport ever, Atlanta International Airport, which is the busiest airport in the world and has been since 2007. So this is a massive hub for Delta, and you know me, I'm a huge fan of Delta Airlines, so this is going to be one of my favorite updates. So let's begin. Here we have a Delta Airbus A320 right here that is waiting for its turn to get on the runway so it can have a flight out to Detroit. Well, I'm not sure if JetBlue flies to Atlanta, but I think it does. Well, here we got a JetBlue Airbus A321 that's getting ready to head out for a flight to New York JFK, and a Frontier Airbus A320 that's getting ready to wait for its turn for a flight out to San Juan. Right here we got a Southwest Boeing 737 MAX 8 here that's getting ready to head for a flight out to Baltimore. Right here we got a United Airbus A319 that will be headed out for Houston Bush Intercontinental. Right here we got a Delta McDonnell Douglas MD-88 that will be headed out for Tampa, and a Sun Country 737-800 that will be headed out for Minneapolis. So for this video, I'll be only doing the two concourses, which is Concourse E and F, because the entire airport is just too big to fit this entire table. So here on Concourse F, we got a Delta Embraer E175 here that will be headed out for New York LaGuardia. Here we got a Delta 757 that will be headed out for Orlando. Delta has a lot of 757 routes all the way to Florida. Here we have a Delta 717 that just arrived in from Newark and will be headed out for Charlotte Douglas. Right here we got a Delta Boeing 757-200 here that just arrived in from Raleigh-Durham and will be headed out for Los Angeles later today. Now Delta does have flights on the Pencil to Raleigh, and I did fly to Atlanta on a 757, which was pretty awesome back in 2023, so I decided to add it here. Right here we got a Delta 737-800 here that will be headed out for San Francisco and just arrived in all the way from Birmingham. And here we got a Southwest 737-800 in the Freedom 1 livery that will be headed out for Chicago Midway later today. Right over here we got a Delta Airbus A321 that was pushing out of the gate and will be headed out for a flight all the way to St. Martin. Now Frontier is the second busiest airline here in Atlanta. Here we got a Frontier Airbus A321 that just arrived in from San Juan and will be headed out for Cancun later today. Now moving on to Concourse F, which is the international terminal. Here we have an Air France 777-200 that will be headed out for Paris Charles de Gaulle. Usually Air France operates the Airbus A350 in the summer, but in the winter they do use the 777, but I will be using the 777 for this video because it's the current aircraft I have right now. Right here we got a Delta Airbus A330neo that just arrived in from Amsterdam Schiphol International Airport and will be headed out for Rome later today. Right over here we got a Lufthansa Airbus A330 that just arrived in from Munich and will be headed out for Frankfurt. For our last 4 planes, here we got a Delta Boeing 767-400 that just arrived in from Los Angeles. They're deboarding some cargo and will be headed out for Rio de Janeiro later today. Right over here we got a Delta Airbus A350 that just arrived in from Johannesburg, that is Delta's longest flight, and will be headed out for Seoul Incheon Airport all the way in South Korea. Well, I did fly a flight on Delta's Airbus A350 to Seoul one time back in 2023. This was my flight after my 757 Raleigh-Durham route. Right here we got an Aer Lingus Airbus A330 that will be headed out for Dublin. And for our last plane of the day, a Copa 737 MAX 8 that just arrived in from Panama and will be headed back to Panama later today. So that concludes today's video today. By the way, I just want to say, if I made any mistakes on this airport, comment down below if I made any incorrect destinations or any incorrect parkings, because I do not know much about Atlanta Airport. So if I did make mistakes, please comment down. Anyway, stay tuned for episode 4, which is in Florida. Like and subscribe, the voting poll will be out soon, and I'll see you in the next video as always.